US officials have ordered Nvidia to stop exporting two top computing chips used in
Nvidia, based in Santa Clara, can't sell certain chips to China and
US officials have ordered it to cease exporting two of its top computing chips.
Order the company to halt its sales to China shares moving.
The US government just ordered AMD and Nvidia to stop selling AI chips to China, but these restrictions have the serious potential to backfire, and in some ways, they already have. According to a recent filing, Nvidia said that it was told by US officials to stop selling certain high-performance chips to China because of, quote, the potential risk of their AI chips being diverted to a military end user, end quote. So the idea here is that the Chinese government would take these chips and use them to keep building up their military capabilities and conduct even stricter surveillance on their civilian population. Obviously, stopping that from happening sounds like a good idea on the surface, but this latest round of restrictions weren't even supposed to happen. They were actually the result of Nancy Pelosi's recent trip to Taiwan, a trip that prompted China to conduct large-scale military exercises in the Taiwan Strait and near sovereign Taiwanese airspace. China has made it clear that they're determined to reunify Taiwan with the mainland, and they've publicly stated that they're willing to use military force to do so. That would be very bad for the rest of the world because Taiwan exports over 60% of all microchips and over 90% of the high-performance chips that go into everything from our cell phones and laptops to our satellites and fighter jets. Controlling where these chips can and can't go would obviously be a huge boost to China's economic power, because it would let them start doing to others what the US is doing right now with these restrictions. But this is only the latest in a series of restrictions that the US has put on China when it comes to advanced chips and manufacturing equipment. These restrictions actually go back several years. That means that China is getting pretty used to them, and they've had some time to actually do something about them. Here's a quick CNBC clip explaining what these restrictions are actually doing for China instead of to them.
Ben, could this backfire and incentivize China to be better at innovation in the space, or are they already trying that anyway, so this actually does damage them?
I believe this is akin to providing your battle plan to your competitor years in advance. We're obviously not in a hot war environment today, but by cutting access to these core inputs and having done so now for almost the last half decade, that threat illuminated to the Chinese all of the vulnerabilities in their technological ecosystem. They have spent the last 5 years in overdrive, and to all the doubters and naysayers out there that said that China has not been able to develop a native chip industry and is lagging far behind, just as a report 2 days ago verified that SMIC took just 2 years to achieve this kind of quantum leap from 14 nanometer to 7 nanometer, much fast chips, much faster than TSMC or Samsung. So this is clearly bearing fruit for the Chinese, who are developing a standalone moated ecosystem that weans itself off dependency on US core inputs, very much to American detriment, because 30% of all American chip revenues come from China.
So the US really showed its hand here with these restrictions, way before it was even necessary. A few years ago, the Trump administration restricted China's access to the most advanced, extreme ultraviolet lithography machines made by a Dutch company called ASML. That's a big deal because these machines are the ones that help create all of the most advanced chips we use today, and ASML has a complete monopoly on them. Semiconductor analysts say that it would take 10 years and billions of dollars for another company to even begin competing with ASML's machines today. So what did China do as a result of these restrictions? They said challenge accepted and took it upon themselves to learn to build advanced chips and become less dependent on the West in the process. China's top chip maker, the Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, or SMIC, has been making progress very quickly, moving from a 14 nanometer process to 7 nanometers in just 2 years. That's twice as fast as TSMC and at least 4 times faster than Intel so far. These measurements, 14 nanometer, 10 nanometer, 7, and so on, are talking about the processes that chip makers use to cram more transistors onto the same size die, which impacts their overall size and their performance. Just for some context, the chips in our smartphones and tablets haven't been made by 14 nanometer processes since 2017. AMD's Zen 2 chips moved away from 14 nanometer in 2019, and the latest gaming consoles currently have way more advanced chips than that as well. The Biden administration recently took these restrictions one step further when they told US suppliers not to sell anything to China that could help them make chips more advanced than 14 nanometer technology, But obviously, China has already figured out a way around those restrictions if SMIC can make 7nm chips. And that brings us to today. These latest restrictions cover Nvidia's A100 and the upcoming H100 chips, and of course any systems that include them. So, what are these chips and what do they add to the story? The A100 Tensor Core GPU is built on Nvidia's 8th generation Ampere architecture. These processors are specifically designed for data centers focused on AI, data analytics, and high-performance computing. Nvidia's new H100 data center chips were announced at their most recent GTC event earlier this year. These chips are built on their newest Hopper architecture, which is the 9th generation of Nvidia's data center GPUs. They're a massive step up from the A100s in terms of performance by promising up to a 9x speed up in AI training, like the kinds used for self-driving cars. They also offer a whopping 30x speedup for inference models, like the massive natural language and image processing models behind GPT-3 and DALL-E 2. 8 of these H100 chips, along with 2 NVIDIA Bluefield Data Processing Units, or DPUs, are connected through NVLink systems to form the DGX H100 server system. If you put 9 DGX H100 server systems together in a rack, you get a DGX pod, which is the reference design that can be scaled up to offer AI services at the enterprise level and beyond. For example, if you want to link 32 DGX pods together, you create a superpod. And Nvidia is linking 18 superpods together to build EOS, which will be the world's fastest AI supercomputer when it comes online later this year. Since all of these systems are built around Nvidia's H100 chip, they all fall under this restriction and can't be sold to China. Likewise, AMD was given similar requirements by the US Department of Commerce around their MI250 chips, which are direct competitors to Nvidia's A100s and H100s. So this isn't really about discrete GPUs for gaming or crypto mining. It's about limiting China's access to current and new AI accelerators that are used in everything from finance and e-commerce to gaming and streaming services all the way to oil and gas. While Nvidia said that this move will cost them around $400 million worth of business, AMD believes that these restrictions won't really impact their bottom line. And I can't help but wonder whether they'll impact China's semiconductor industry as heavily as they did Nvidia's bottom line, or not at all like they did with AMD's. Either way, one thing's for sure, restrictions like these are forcing China to become more self-sufficient and catch up even faster when it comes to semiconductors, while crushing the revenues of the US companies that sell to them. This is part of a developing story that I really feel affects us all, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Everyone who uses smartphones and laptops today, or believes in the self-driving cars and advanced technologies of tomorrow, should care about China, Taiwan, and the potential risks of the world's chip supply. So if you find this content valuable, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel with all notifications turned on. That way you won't miss a beat as this story unfolds. And if you want to learn more about the most important players in this industry and how they're changing the world, check out this episode next. Either way, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is ticker symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.